Hi everyone, I'm Ruchi Kulkarni. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do the chapter The Sermon at Benares by Betty Renshaw, and this chapter is from First Flight of Class 10th. We all know about Gautam Buddha. The chapter The Sermon at Benares opens our eyes to the inevitable reality of death. When Gautam Buddha was living a princely life in his youth, he once chanced upon a sick man, an old man, a funeral procession, and a monk who begged for alms. On seeing the sufferings in the world, he dismissed his royal life and went on the path of salvation. So, this chapter talks about his first sermon after attaining enlightenment, and it was given by him at Benares. He made a lady named Kisa Gautami realize that men are mortal. However, wise people do not grieve when death takes away their loved ones, because they know that no amount of lamenting can bring back those who have passed away. It only increases the pain and suffering of those who are left behind. Thus, everyone must accept this harsh reality and make peace with it. And today, we will read and understand this particular chapter, do the significance of its title, the moral given by it, and end the session with summary and question answers. So now, let's begin the session with its author, Betty Renshaw. Betty Louise Renshaw Barber was born in Shannon, Mississippi on September 3, 1927. She was an active missionary worker and was always there to visit and support people in every possible way. Betty was dedicated to serving God and loving others. The chapter The Sermon at Benares is written by Betty Renshaw, and it is a part of her book named Values and Voices. She died on 3rd September 2013 in Mississippi, US at the age of 86. Gautam Buddha began life as a prince named Siddharth Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. Befitted means suitable to. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, heretofore means before now, while out hunting, chanced upon. Chanced upon means came across by chance. A sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. Monk is a person of religious community, and alms means money or food given to poor people. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. Enlightenment means a state of high spiritual knowledge. Gautam Buddha was a prince. His name was Siddharth Gautam. He lived in the northern part of India. When he was 12 years old, he was sent for schooling to learn Hindu sacred scriptures. And after 4 years, when he returned home, he married a princess. Both of them lived a happy life, which was very suitable to the royal life those days. And they also had a son. Till the age of 25, Gautam Buddha was shielded, or he was protected from any suffering of the world. But one day when he went out for hunting, he came across many things which really made him emotional. All these things made him introduced to the sufferings of the world. That day he saw a sick man, an aged man. Aged means old man. Then a funeral procession. It's a procession wherein people take a dead body for its last rites. And finally he saw a monk. A monk is a religious person who was begging for food and money to live his life. When he saw these sights, he became so emotional that he at once went out into the world. He decided that he will leave the royal life because now he wanted to gain some knowledge which was concerning the sorrows of the world, the sufferings in the world that he has just witnessed. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat under a peepal tree. Wandered means roamed aimlessly, where he vowed to stay. Vowed means sweared, until enlightenment came. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, which means tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. At that point, he became known as the Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares. Preached means taught, and sermon is a religious or moral talk. Benares was the most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. Dipping places means bathing. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable means something which cannot be understood. So when Buddha set out to gain some spiritual knowledge, he wandered or he roamed aimlessly for about 7 years. Till 7 years he did not find that kind of knowledge that he was looking for. Finally, he sat down under a peepal tree, and there he swore, he promised himself that he would stay there until that enlightenment came to him. After 7 days, he was enlightened, that is, he got that knowledge, and so he renamed that peepal tree as Bodhi tree. The Bodhi tree is also known as the tree of wisdom because it was only under that tree that he received wisdom. And then he began to teach and share his new understandings with the world. He began to preach the people. At that point, he became known as Buddha. Buddha means the awakened or the enlightened. The first sermon is a religious or moral talk, which was given by Buddha, was at the city of Benares. Benares is supposed to be the most sacred places which is located on the river Ganges. And till this date, the sermon which Buddha gave has been preserved and is always given here in Benares. So that sermon which Buddha gave, his first sermon, reflected Buddha's wisdom about one thing or about one truth of life which can never be understood. And that truth of life is a kind of suffering. What is that truth of life? We will know in the next part of this story, which is a story of Kisa Gautami. Let's read the story. Kisa Gautami had an only son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine. And the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request. "I cannot give thee medicine to thy child, but I know a physician who can." The words thee and thy are related to Old English. Thee means you and thy means your. And the girl said, "Pray, tell me, sir, who is it?" And the man replied, "Go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha." Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried. Repaired means went to. "Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy." The Buddha answered, "I want a handful of mustard seed." And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, "The mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend." Let us now understand the story of Kisa Gautami, who dealt with Buddha. Kisa Gautami had only one son, and the son had died. In her grief, she had become so senseless that she carried her dead child to all the neighbors, asking for some medicine which could make the child alive. Everybody thought that she had become mentally unstable. Then someone told to go to Buddha because he may have the medicine for her child. Kisa Gautami went to Buddha. Then Buddha answered that he wanted a handful of mustard seeds, but she should get those seeds only from a house which has never lost a child, or a husband, a parent, or any friend. Kisa Gautami at first thought that it would be so easy to get it. She was overjoyed and she promised to get that for him. Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, "Here is mustard seed, take it." But when she asked, "Did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family?" they answered, "Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief." And there was no house, but some beloved one has died in it. Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless. Weary means tired, and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. Extinguished means put out. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. Reigned means ruled. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she thought to herself, "How selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness." Valley of desolation means an area which is filled with deep sorrow. Kisa Gautami went house to house looking for mustard seed. There were many who were willing to give that mustard seed. But when she asked whether anyone had died in their family, everybody answered yes. There was no house where no one had died, whether it was their father, mother, children, brother, sisters, or any other person in the relation. Kisa Gautami did not get the mustard seeds. She was tired and she was hopeless. When she sat on the wayside, she observed the flickering lights of the city. They were flickering up and then they were switching off. At last, when all the lights had switched off, there was darkness all around. And then she considered that a fate or destiny of a man is also like that. He lives like this light which flickers, and then at last, when he dies, it is like as if the light has switched off or it is put out. And she thought to herself that she was so selfish in her grief. Death is common to every living person. There is no one who is not going to die. The world is full of deep sorrow. And now, after death, her son was moving to a place where there is immortality. Immortality means there is no death. No one dies there in heaven. And there is no selfishness. As long as her child lived in this world, he must have been very sorrowful. He must have been very uncomfortable in this selfish world. But now when he is moving to heaven, he'll be so happy. So she thought how selfish she had been, that she is bringing her child who has gone to heaven, bringing back him to this selfish and sorrowful world. It is nothing but selfishness. She wasn't thinking about his happiness. The Buddha said, "The life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. Mortals are those who are bound to die. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. Of those who overcome by death, depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Kinsmen are blood relatives. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, Lamenting means expressing sorrow or grief. One by one, mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. Slaughter means killing something for food. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Afflicted with means affected by suffering, disease, or pain. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So the Buddha says that all the living organisms in this world are mortals. Mortals are people or living things which are bound to die someday. But this world is a place which is full of trouble. It is brief, that is, it is short, and it has a lot of pain in it. Everybody has to go through this trouble and pain and live a short life here and then die. There are no means wherein whoever has been born can avoid death. People who reach old age will die. That's the nature of all living beings. Just as a ripe fruit on a tree is in the danger of falling, in the same way, the mortals or the living beings who are born are always in a danger of death. When a potter makes earthen vessels, these vessels will be broken someday, and so is the life of mortals. Someday we all are going to die, whether young or adult, whether fools or wise. No one can overpower death. They will all die. But for those who overcome by death, they depart from life. They can't be saved. A father cannot save the son. A blood relative cannot save his relative. Meanwhile, when other people are lamenting, they are crying, they are expressing their grief on that person who has died. That person is like an ox which is taken to be cut or killed for food. So, this world is full of suffering, disease, and pain. So, only the wise people who know this truth of life or truth of this world will never grieve. They will never cry over people who have died because they know how the world works. Not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. Lamentation means expression of sorrow. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. Finally, Gautam Buddha says that those who keep weeping, who cry, who grieve over the dead, they will never obtain peace. On the other hand, their pain will increase. It will be greater than ever. The body will suffer because he will become sick and pale. And because of this expression of sorrow, the dead are not going to be saved. They will not come back however much we cry. So those who seek peace, who want peace in their life, who want to come out of this sorrowful period of life, they should draw out that arrow of lamentation. There's an arrow of sorrow which is stuck in someone's body. We should take that arrow out of our body, that arrow of sorrow, complaint, and grief. And only then we will obtain peace in our mind. And all those who have overcome this sorrow, they feel blessed. This chapter talks about Buddha's one of many sermons, which is about an inescapable suffering of death. Here, Buddha preaches that death is unavoidable for all living beings, and every human has to undergo this suffering. Therefore, mourning over a lost one is pointless. If one wants to be happy, then he must accept the fact of death. Since this was the first sermon that Buddha preached at Benares, the title of the story, The Sermon at Benares, is Justified. This story teaches us that one should understand that human beings are mortal, and of course, no one can escape death. People must understand that lamenting and grieving over our loss will only increase one's stress and sorrow. One should not grieve or weep or be miserable at something which is bound to happen because it will keep us away from obtaining peace of mind. Just accept the reality and make peace with what's happening around us. That's all in today's session. If you like my content, then please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon for getting an instant notification of my latest uploads. I'll see you again in another new video of class 10th. Till then, take good care of yourself and be blessed.